All right, everyone, hi.
Hi.
Yay, thank you for being here. Today we are going to be going out and talking to voters. The folks that we are trying to talk to are all registered Democrats. So what we're doing at this point is doing a voter identification. So I want to go through what that means with voter identification, and then I'm going to kind of get into the script and then show you the turf and the map and how it all works. It's been a while since you guys have canvassed. What about you?
First time.
First time, yay! Okay, awesome. So, simple things. I always say, what would Bernie do? It's really, really important to remember that we will likely encounter somebody who is supporting our opponent, who is, going to say, I'm not a communist, or whatever they want to say. Don't engage, don't fight, thank you, have a great day, is the best thing, because we're out there representing Bernie, and we don't want to be the people that are, being rude and mean. That's not what we do. The other thing, keep it short and sweet. That's on both sides, for both supporters and people who aren't sure. You don't want to have a 10-minute conversation where you're discussing every single policy and everything. And you also don't want to spend 25 minutes chatting with a Bernie supporter about how great he is, So really, even no matter who you're talking to, just say, I'm really trying to get out and talk to as many people as I can today. So, I'm really glad that I know that you are supporting, not supporting, undecided, whatever it is. Try and keep it short and sweet, because it's really about getting out and getting as many IDs as possible. Write notes when you can. There are only so many actual checkbox responses, and if there's any question around it, write a little note. If somebody has moved and there's a new person there, write a little note. That way we can just get all the info back to the campaign. So if you're looking at the folder in your hands, right now you can see that on the front page, actually on the front cover, the responses that are there are not home, again, if the person is not home. Now, let's say that I reach you, but you're not home, and you're a Bernie supporter, and you're like, yes, and she's a Bernie supporter, and we're voting, and we're excited. You can go ahead and you can say that she is a Bernie supporter as well. Now, if I reach you, and you're like, no, my wife hates him, don't mark that down. We want to talk to her. We want to find out, because, it could be that they don't agree on the politics, and they're trying to push us away. If somebody refuses, literally slams the door in your face, don't bother me, you want to mark refuse. If it's inaccessible, that could be that you couldn't get in because it was an apartment complex and no one would buzz you in. It could be there's a vicious dog. It could be, whatever it is, just write a note. If they're Spanish speaking and you don't know how to speak Spanish, mark it that way. If it's other language and you don't know how to speak it, mark it so we can get people to get in contact over the phone. And then, of course, there's the option for if someone says that the person is no longer alive, we can mark that as well. The next column, which is Bernie support, there's 1 strong Bernie, 2 lean Bernie. And this is really for you guys to identify. You don't get extra points for coming back with the most Bernie supporters. We really want to know, real information. If it's a strong Bernie, we don't have to go back there. We know that they're voting. If it's a leaning Bernie, we're going to probably want to give them a call. And if they're undecided, we're going to want to knock on their door again. If it's a lean Clinton or a strong Clinton, we aren't going back. We're not wasting our time. This effort is so that in the 5 days leading up to the primary, we can actually get out the vote. We are going to be working all day, 9 in the morning to 9 at night, to reach back out to the people who said they were voting for Bernie, make sure they know their polling place, make sure, the 5 days leading up to the primary, make sure that they have a ride, make sure they know their polling place, and make sure that they have scheduled voting into their day. Because a lot of people might go, oh, okay, it's open until 9. 1 second. They might say, okay, it's open until 9, and I get out of work at 8, and then what happens if, you get stuck at work? So no, you need to plan and go ahead of time. So we want to make sure we have the right information, because we don't want to call and drive people to the polls for not voting for our candidate. Yes, they should vote, but they can figure it out on their own. The other option would be volunteer. If you get a strong Bernie or a lean Bernie, you want to ask them if they'd be willing to volunteer. There's a little checkbox there, okay? So here on the script, as you're walking and you're talking to somebody, basically there's this step-by-step, the questions you want to ask, the first time you do it, you're going to be looking at it. Second time, you're going to feel more comfortable. Third time, you won't even need it. You want it to be an organic conversation. You don't want to say, hi, my name is Callie and I'm a volunteer. Feel comfortable. But one of the best things, when you knock on the door and somebody opens the door, you say, hi, is Rebecca there? Go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah? You're Rebecca? Mm-hmm. Great, my name is Callie. I'm a volunteer for Democratic candidate Bernie Sanders for president. How are you doing today?
Okay.
Good. So right there, people will take things if you hand it to them. Hand it to them. And they're less likely to slam the door because now they're holding something of yours and they're looking at the face, so hand it to the person. Also, always say you're a volunteer. That softens things up because you're not getting paid to do it. And people are just going to be like, oh, great, they're here on their own free time. This is awesome. So the line on the script says he's the only candidate in the race who has a 40-year track record of fighting for working families and not taking money from special interests. Say how you feel, like why you're supporting Bernie. Like, he is the one that's fighting for us, the whole shebang, whatever. The big question is, can we count on your support for Bernie Sanders in the Democratic primary on April 19th? People are going to say, yeah, or I don't know, I'm thinking about it. And those folks who are thinking about it, undecided, leaning Bernie, you can say to them, well, what issues are important to you? And on the back of this sheet, there are a lot of, basic information pieces about Bernie's stances. We also have talking points inside the folders. And because you've identified yourself as a volunteer, you are perfectly able, to say to the person, I'm a volunteer, I'm not quite sure, let me get some information. Or why don't you go to the BernieSanders.com and get that information about it yourself. People will look into it. When you find out who Bernie is, you love Bernie. So, to know him is to love him. So it's about, getting them thinking about it. Again, you don't want to have a 10-minute conversation. If they're leaning Bernie, tell them to look. We'll follow up with them on the phone. Make sure that you don't make them feel dumb for not knowing who Bernie is or not having a choice. Like, oh, this is so important. I'm glad you're giving it such good thought, that type of thing. If someone says, yep, I'm voting for our opponent, or I'm voting for Trump or GOP, or, I don't vote at all because the man is holding us down. Great. Thank you, have a great day. Don't have a fight. And so that's the dream, the best situation. If out of your lists, you're not going to talk to everyone on the list. You are not going to talk to, 50%, to be honest. It is a cold day, which is kind of good because that means that people are going to be inside. The best canvassing days I had in New Hampshire were like vicious snowstorms, and it was great. Not so fun for me, but, great to talk to people. So the turf that you have in front of you, and everyone's a little bit different, will have another copy of a very similar script, those first page or two. And then there's a map. And this map with the dots, it kind of just gives you a visualization of where you're going. On the following pages are all the people's names, and it's listed by address, and the street name is alphabetical order. So you might want to look at this and go, okay, I want to do Albany Ave, and then I'm going to come down this way, and just figure out your path, whether you're walking or driving or what you're doing. So if you get on this page, the next page that has people's information, the first street is there. Some of these are split up odd and even, and that's great for big roads that you can't cross, kind of annoying for small roads. So just make sure that you take a look and see if there are other evens, because you might be at 219 and you have to go a few pages back because 218 is right across the street. So just take a look, kind of plan your trip out. You can see all these check boxes are the same things that we just went over. If somebody is not home, you want to leave behind some information. We have Spanish Lit and also English. If there's a name that you think may be a Spanish speaker, leave both. We don't want someone to just throw it out because they can't hear, they can't read it. So make sure that you are leaving something behind, folding it up, maybe tucking it in a door. Do not put it in a mailbox. Putting it in any type of mailbox or a U.S. mail slot on a door is a crime. Bernie can get fined for it. So because it's so windy though, try and tuck it under something, on something, or anything like that. again,
Sorry, can you repeat that? You said that we can leave it,
we cannot put it in a mailbox.
but we can.
We can leave it, like, we try and tuck it in a door jamb, or like if somebody has a planter that you can kind of put it underneath so it doesn't blow away. But we cannot put it into the actual U.S. mailbox. That is I think, a federal offense. Yeah. So, that being said, take a lot of these because you're going to want to make sure you leave it behind. Because even if you don't get to talk to someone, them seeing this is going to get them thinking. And then, all of these people are registered Democrats. There is a chance that you will find someone in the house that isn't registered. Maybe there's like a sister in the background that says, oh, okay, I missed the deadline, whatever the case may be. So you will have voter registration forms with you. It is very important to make sure that people know that the deadline has passed for the April primary, but they can register to vote for the June congressional primary and for the November general election. We don't want people to think that them filling out this form means they can vote in April, because if they show up and they can't vote and they have a bad experience, they're never coming back. So if there's anyone in the house. The other thing I want to point out about the names that you have on here is that it says the gender and the age of the person that you're looking for. So let's say you're looking for someone named James. It says he's a male and he's 59, and a 20-year-old guy comes to the door and says, yeah, I'm James. You might want to verify, is your dad's name James too, or is there another James? Because we don't want to mark down that this man is voting for Bernie if it's in fact his son, The other thing to consider is if you're looking at people that are in the same house, like I have this 4 people right here, is that someone might come to the door and say, oh yeah, I'm a huge supporter, and they're not on your list. That's because we have already identified them as a supporter. So maybe they've been phone banked, or maybe, just because they've filled something out, we already know they're a supporter. Feel free to write down their name, but most likely we have that information. Because here we have people that we haven't ID'd yet. But I mean, that's about it. It's pretty straightforward. Again, if you want to look at your maps and figure out
we're writing our notes next to these names?
Yep, you can just squiggle it right here, any place that you have space. Especially if people want to volunteer, verify their phone numbers right so we can reach them, that type of thing.
Each row is a
person. So, like, this whole thing is one house. And so it's 4 people in that house. One house right here. So the other thing too is make sure that you know the name of the person that you're trying to reach. I mean, if there's 4 people, you're not expected to know all of them. But when you get up to the door, say, I'm looking for Scott or Howard or Stephen or Rose. So you're not just going, looking for Bob. Be prepared. But besides that, like, I would say, we're getting a great response from people. People are excited to talk to us. They're happy to hear the information. So, don't be scared, don't be nervous. I want to see, do you guys have any questions?
So at which point do we ask about issues? Only if they're undecided?
Only if they're undecided,
okay.
Yeah. If they're undecided or leaning Bernie, and again, that's something for you guys to figure out. How undecided you think they are, or if they're leaning Bernie, because someone might just say, I don't know. I really don't know. That's undecided. So what issues are important to you? I think I like Bernie, but I don't know, I'm still not sure. That's a leaning Bernie. But so what issues are important to you? Like, why, what's making you go back and forth? One of the really big things right now is that the upstate, which includes the Hudson Valley area, was just left behind in the $15 an hour minimum wage deal. Downstate is getting $15 an hour. Upstate is going to be getting $12.50 by 2021. So work off that anger. If anyone says, $15 minimum wage is so important, well, are you pissed off that $12.50 just got passed here? Well, that's our opponent's plan. Bernie wants 15. That's something that's affecting people right here, right now. Just go out, have the conversations, make it organic, and be friendly.